Leadership Unleashed, a place where we explore leadership ideas and dare to question the status quo. We have all heard office speak or office lingo. Today we're going to talk about all those little cliches, all those little business phrases. We all use them sometimes. And interestingly enough, so many of them, we don't even know where they come from. Have you ever thought about, what does that really mean? Where does that really come from? Well, today we're going to explore them. I'm going to give you my take on a few of them, and please feel free to go ahead and add your thoughts down in the comments below. We'd love to have a little fun with this one too. So we've heard them, and we know about them, and maybe you know a few or use a few, but let's start immediately and just put a pin in it. Now let's think about that. When I think about put a pin in it, remember when you went to the carnival as a kid and they had all the balloons on the backboard and they'd give you some really dull darts? And as a little kid, you just wanted that little tiny eraser, but really the giant panda bear. But with the dull darts, you weren't going to get much. So when I hear put a pin in it, that's immediately what comes to my mind is throwing darts at a balloon on a board. To me, that means exactly like the carnival example. We're going to throw a dull dart in your idea. We're going to pop your balloon, and hopefully, if all goes well, we never get to hear about it again. Make sure and put a pin in it. Love that. Here's another one that I truly didn't understand. May come from football, may come from baseball. I don't know. It's probably some kind of sports analogy or maybe something that comes out of the Air Force. I'm not really sure. When I say I'm going to be out of pocket, it means I think you're going to be unavailable. You're going to be gone. For some reason, you're out of a communication pocket. Maybe there's a vortex around you where you can get no cell phone service, or you don't know how to dial a phone anymore. We just don't know where it comes from or why we even say it. Would love to hear from one of you if you know, because I certainly don't know. Another one of my favorites is think outside the box. I'm pretty sure this is a way of saying all of your ideas are stupid, so we need you to regroup and go get some new ideas that nobody's ever thought of. Well, maybe if I've thought of the ideas and I had enough imagination, they would be inside the box. Now, is this a cardboard box or a figurative box? What exactly kind of box is this? Are we all boxed in? I think we're all sitting in a cardboard box together and somebody's got to figure out how to punch their way out of it. What about drinking the Kool-Aid? Well, for me, I'm a child of the 70s, 80s, and lived my early childhood where we actually saw the Kool-Aid guy on the TV. So when you tell me drinking the Kool-Aid, I actually come away with a pretty positive feeling. Some giant glass picture with a smile on it with Kool-Aid sloshing back and forth in it. To me, that sounds like fun, so why not drink the Kool-Aid? I'm pretty sure it means that you do what everybody else is doing, and it's kind of a groupthink idea. There's another one, groupthink. What about the game changer? The thing that's really going to just change everything. The funny thing is there truly are game changers in business, right? But we tend to call little tiny things game changers as if they're totally going to have a seismic shift on everything we do. So reserve the game changers for the actual thing that is going to change the game, because what we mean by that is changing the rules, changing the dynamics, literally shifting everything in a new way where we're going to see something completely different. So how about the sidebar? It's a polite way to silence people or say, we're going to go have a private conversation where I tell you why you shouldn't have brought that up in public in the first place. We're going to go ahead and do a sidebar on that. Pretty hilarious, really, when you think about it. Here's my personal favorite, and unfortunately I've used this one and probably still use it too much. ASAP. As soon as possible. Right away. You gotta do it now. Like, if you don't do this thing, the world is just gonna fall apart. You gotta do it ASAP. And you gotta do it in all block capital letters and make sure it stands out. And even better, if you really want to get at it, make sure you put some exclamation points in there and make sure we're really, really, really clear how important this is. And how about the guy that doesn't quite have the ability to do what you want him to do? Or he or she just is trying to tell you they're too darn busy. The easy way out is simple. I don't have the bandwidth to deal with that. That's an easy way to say, I have so much work piled up, there's no way in heck I can get to your thing. But it's a nice way to say it without being a total quitter or somebody that's not on board. People that use this use it with absolute excellence. Don't have the bandwidth for that, or I don't know if we have the bandwidth for that. Either way, it's sinister and an easy way to manipulate your way into absolutely taking no responsibility for anything. How about ping me? I'm not sure what that means. I'm not sure if I should be excited or offended if you're going to ping me later. This one's got a little bit of a nefarious tone to it. Funny thing about ping me is I had a guy once that maybe got a little bit confused. Instead of saying, hey, I'm going to ping you later, he said he was going to pound me later. And I'm not sure if I was supposed to be scared or afraid or what. I think he meant ping me, but it was so funny I couldn't even correct him. How about that is not in my wheelhouse, or it's not in her wheelhouse, or it's not in his wheelhouse, or their wheelhouse. This is a great way to say, I have no expertise, therefore no responsibility. If it's not in my wheelhouse and then I don't have the bandwidth, we are really, really in trouble. Why can't we just say, I have no idea how to do this? I guess you look not as smart if you say that. It's far more intelligent to say, not in my wheelhouse. Another way to dismiss people's ideas is we're going to put that in the parking lot. We're going to make a little area up here. We're going to put your idea in it. We're even going to write it down so it looks like we care. But the truth of the matter is we're never going to talk about it again. It goes on the list of ideas that are doomed to be put in the parking lot, kind of like the impound lot. We're going to lock it in there, maybe put some fencing up so you can't see it, and hopefully we'll never see that idea again. And then there's another way to kill ideas. Let's put that on the back burner, meaning we're going to put it on simmer or really just turn off the heat so we never have to hear about it again. We all know it's there. Maybe we'll even put it on an agenda. Ideas that we're never going to talk about are probably something a little more formal, but you know you're never going to hear about it again. It's a priority that is never going to see the light of day again unless somebody brings it up and puts it on the front burner, which will never happen because all the things on the front burner are your crisis that you're dealing with every single day in and out. How about throwing somebody under the bus? These are the ones I find really interesting. Let's really think about that. If I'm going to throw you under the bus, I'm thinking of a school bus with a couple 1,000-pound axle rolling over the top of you. It's pretty gruesome if you really think about it. And why a school bus or why a bus altogether? I have no idea, but definitely better not throw me under the bus because I think it will really hurt. And hopefully you don't get thrown under the bus either. Again, I don't even know where it comes from, but we all know what it means. What about the elephant in the room? Do you think there was actually an elephant in a room somewhere during the middle of a meeting? Because if they were, elephants are pretty massive and doors are pretty small. It's just a funny thing to think about that we use this giant elephant crowding us all out of the room. Again, my mind goes pretty practical and pretty realistic, and I think it's kind of a funny thing we use all the time. Let's talk about the 360 review. In all seriousness, a 360 review is a great way to get people to look at their own performance and see how others perceive them in the workplace. But we don't use it that way. When we say we're going to do a 360 on somebody, that often means we're going to look at their terrible performance and try to find ways to improve it. Just know it's actually a great tool to use in business. I've done them a couple different times voluntarily, and they are a quite useful way to really understand how you're performing. How about those low-hanging fruit? We're going to go after the low-hanging fruit. Or let's pick the low-hanging fruit. Or somehow we're going to grab those low-hanging fruit. Don't you think we would have grabbed them anyway if they were that low? Or somebody else might have grabbed them? Just kind of a funny one. You hear it all the time. Let's make sure we get some low-hanging fruit, or we've grabbed some low-hanging fruit, or we're going to take care of the low-hanging fruit. Kind of a funny idea. How about the matrixed organization? I interpret this to mean I have 15 bosses to answer to, and no matter what, I'm going to get conflicting direction from at least 2 of them. And a lot of organizations like to talk about a matrixed organization as if it is something that they've perfected over time. I've seen organizational charts that are quite hilarious with dotted lines and straight lines and arrows and bigger arrows and smaller arrows, and you literally run out of fonts and lines to connect things. They get so crazy. To me, a highly matrixed organization often is code for really confusing and you're not sure who your boss is on a given day. How about leveraging our synergies? Man, that sounds really exciting. We're going to leverage something you do well, leverage something I do well, and synergize together. And there we are. The world is just going to be a better place. How about just work together? Interesting. We like to use those fancy terms instead. What about right sizing? That's awesome. We're going to make the thing just right. Not too big, not too small, just right. We're going to right size it. Or we may be doing something to change somebody's pay or job significantly, and we talk about right sizing as if it's the right thing to do. It's the noble thing to do. In fact, it's the thing that nature is compelling us to do, to right size it. But guess what? We're usually just cutting things to make them smaller. Let's be clear. How about we're going to punt that? That's another fun one. That means we have no idea what to do with this problem, so we're literally going to punt it somewhere else, anywhere else, to the next field, to the next team, to the next year, to the next performance evaluation. We don't know, but we're getting rid of that thing because it is not something we know how to solve. We're just going to go ahead and punt that. Here's one that I think might be related to the military. It at least sounds patriotic. I'm going to run that up the flagpole. Well, if you think about it, the only thing I've ever seen run up a flagpole is a flag. So what the heck does that mean? I'm going to run it up the flagpole. We know what it means, right? We know it means that we're going to escalate something up through an organization. But it's just so funny that we use those kind of terms. And I bet most of us have no idea what it means. Sitting here right now, I'm not sure. How about the deep dive? Love to take a deep dive. That sounds exciting too. We're going to get so down into the detail and really understand what's going on. We're going to do a deep dive on that. Interestingly enough, it's an accurate term in a lot of ways. We're really going to get deep down into the data or the nuances of something. Just kind of funny. And if we're lucky, we can move the needle. Move that needle just a little bit in one direction or the other, and we are bound for success. If we can do that and grab a couple of low-hanging fruit, wow, we're unstoppable. And with all of that, we're going to come to a hard stop. Thank you so much for watching today. If you like what you saw, please go and hit that subscribe button. Make sure your notifications are turned on, and that way you'll receive a notification anytime new video content comes out. Now go out there and lead.